after this conference that even the new coaches in this league have all been here before and they know what it takes to have success in this conference.
Yeah, and everyone's got kind of their own story, but that experience you have as an assistant within the league, really helps. I think Ben's experiences of leaving and being in the Big East, but also being in the Big Ten, playing in the Big Ten, 2 different schools. So he's got a lot. So when new assistants come on like Shrews and Ben, and you say, well, they've never coached a game before. They've been in a lot of these games. They've been moving over is a little bit of an adjustment, obviously, but it's still basketball. Yes, when it comes to depth. Now, like when you get to like Etuan Moore as a guard, like Carson Edwards as a guard, you have that guy. Like Jaden Ivey gives us that guy with that kind of ability. He's probably has the most ability of those 3. And if he can be as productive as those guys, we'll be cooking with gas. Just a good balance of experience, like Hunter, Stefanovic, Newman, Gillis, to go along with elite size, and then just a dynamic guard like that, and then depth, like Isaiah Thompson, has played a lot. Newman and Gillis have played. They've redshirted. They've been with us. So we have some older guys to go along with some fresh talent that's coming in that are good players also, and Waddell and First and Kaufman. 3 of our freshmen won a state title their sophomore and senior years. It's probably never been done before. Obviously, COVID knocked out their junior years. We could be talking about 3 freshmen with 3 state titles, which would be unheard of. I would like to think that one of them would have done it, maybe 2 of them, maybe 3 of them. They're all in great programs.
This is particularly resonate with these gentlemen, who were there for the Virginia, Elite 8 loss, which I know was really tough at the time, and trying to overcome that adversity moving forward.
Right. Yeah, that's, I think it's a great measuring stick because what they had to overcome was monumental. They're a number 1 seed, clearly number 1 seed, and they get beat by a 16. So it kind of shows you, hey, that's the tournament. And that's never happened before. But then they use it as fuel to be better for the next year. And I think that's what a lot of people do in that situation is try to use that as fuel to just be better. And so that's, we're not going to be any different and try to learn from some of those things. But North Texas was a good team. It was a close game. It wasn't like we got our doors blown off. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's a learning lesson, and hopefully we'll be better because of it.
Zach's confidence has grown from last year to this year.
Yep.
How have you seen that kind of intangibles on the court these last few weeks as he's come into this season?
He's really hard to deal with. Zach is. You have rules in terms of like your ball screen D and your post D, and like some of the things that you have to do with him go against your rules. Because if you do it that way, if he gets low position, it's really hard. And then he caves people in. Like most people that size, 7'4", 290, 300 pounds, are not good rebounders because they struggle to make a sudden movement and then be able to rebound. So, but he can move, like he can make a play on the ball and then react and go make another play by trying to rebound it. Whereas if you make a sudden movement with the other guys that we've had that are that big, they can't go make the next play. They can make the first play, they just can't have multiple efforts because it's just too much cargo. And so with him, he's able to move with that much weight, and it's really impressive. He's been very good.
Now that you're on to your 3rd or 4th iteration of having a big guy like this, are you learning a little more about how to use this?
Yeah, you learn from the other guys. You learn from those things. But he's kind of his own guy in terms of his mobility. He can get back in transition. His ball screen D is pretty good. If he has to switch onto somebody, like he's not out there, on the perimeter and just doesn't know what he's doing. He does a good job of staying down, contesting shots, making it hard on people. He's a good player. It's kind of been amazing to watch, frankly. I don't think college basketball realizes the impact he's going to have.
The ceiling is still a ways away from him.
Yeah, well, he just started playing 5 years ago.
Can you just kind of break down Caleb and Trey, Kaufman, Ren, where they are right now,
Yep.
how ready they are to fill that role early in the season?
Yeah, well, how ready they are will be answered by how they play, not from what I say. Those guys will, they get into practices and we run a lot of stuff. So sometimes you get bogged down because you're thinking about what you need to do instead of playing. So right as they can get to where they really know what they're doing and they can just kind of let loose and play, they're both really going to take off. But they've both had good moments in practice. They both work hard. They put in a lot of time. They have a lot of similarities, you know, in terms of just how they are as people, and how they are as players. You know, they've been really good when they've had to be together. They just don't know everything. So they have some subtle breakdowns that here, hopefully in a month, 2 months, especially going into next year, that they should be really good. I'd be shocked if those guys aren't all conference players at some point.
How much has Trey played on the perimeter in practice, and how comfortable is he out there?
Trey Kaufman?
Yeah.
He's fine. He can shoot the basketball. He can make individual plays. He's a good player. He can score. Best thing he can do is score. So we just try, when he gets into those situations, try to get him to be aggressive in that area when he has space and stuff. Yeah, we can't rebound his turnovers. So get those guys that can score to be aggressive and shoot, because we can always rebound their misses.
How does he guard out there?
He's good. He's good. He's working on it. See, it helps him when they're bigger. Where he's going to have more of a trouble is when you get against those guys that are really small forwards that play the four. That's the trouble for all those guys. That's the trouble. I shouldn't say the trouble. That's the hardest thing they have to do. A lot of people don't understand. It's like, well, I can guard that guy, but can you chase him and guard him? Like, because the guys they've been guarding, like those guys are more rooted close to the rim. And now they're all, so I got 5 guys on my front line that all guarded centers in high school. Because Mason guarded centers in high school. So it's just an adjustment. They want to talk in theory about how they guard, and you really got to be able to guard actions that most of college basketball runs.
You said when you have Zach and Travion out there together, you still want to post at 4. Does that apply to Caleb too then when he's in there?
Yes, but not quite as much. Not quite as much. Caleb's a better perimeter shooter than him. Caleb is not as proficient in the low post yet.
Yeah, I was just going to
Kind of like, you remember how Travion was as a freshman? You could get it down there, and it's just a comfort level. He just needs to keep getting reps.
What would be Caleb's offensive niche playing alongside the sort of size he's never played against you before?
Well, we still would like to post it, because a lot of times in those doubles, when you dive, now you take on guards. And then now when you can get into a double, skip it, reverse it, now throw it into him, now you got him playing from behind right there. But Caleb First has really shot the ball well from the perimeter. He's been very fluid shooting the basketball. And like, the thing I really talked to him in recruiting was, so many big guys want to shoot on the perimeter, but then they stink as free throw shooters. So if you can't make them from 15, no one's guarding you. Why should you shoot them from 22 when somebody's guarding you? But yet they think that should be a real possibility. So he shot 82 and 84% his last 2 years of high school. And it's really, in my opinion, I think once you just really dial into being a great free throw shooter and you make strides, it helps with your ability to shoot jumpers too.